This is for the week of April 25th to the 30th. And yeah, we're still picking things up as we go through the week. Cooled down a lot. It's only 15 degrees Celsius today, so that is less than half of where we were at over the last couple weeks. So this week we got to do the dishes. We are going to be finishing this plot here. Be finishing up the irrigation, planting some of that stuff, and probably this week I will be harvesting that bed of mustard and tatsoi for the last time for two reasons. One, it's just too awkward to get in there now, so that bed's made some money. We'll landscape fabric that up and we'll no longer be planting anything in there. The tomatoes will take over. You can see the tomatoes have really come a long way now. We're still continuing to harvest all these other greens, but our other greenhouses are starting to produce more greens as well, so we'll be starting to transition more into that, and then stuff in the field will start coming up. As usual, I've got a lot of microgreens to plant today in here. That's something we always do on Mondays. And right now I've got some errands to run. I've got to go to three supply stores actually, get some more turkey manure for our fertilizer. I've got to go get more potting mix for our microgreens, and I've got to go get a few tool replacements. There's a new store in town called Lee Valley, which is a Canadian garden farm store. So I'm gonna go check out what they've got. Need a couple new tool replacements. And that's what's happening today. Mark is over at one of the bi-rotation plots, direct seeding beets, and finishing up a lot of the planting that's gonna be happening at that plot. But right now I'm just going to make a quick delivery to one of our grocery store customers on my way out to do a bunch of errands. So I came by one of my high rotation plots here on the way to the supply stores to check on the germination of these crops, and they've all germinated. Hey Leroy! I planted these last week on Monday, and so now they're all emerged, and so now I'm going to move into fast cycles where I'm planting those arugula, radishes, turnips, probably red Russian kale every single week. And so now I need to make sure that I've got places to do that. I've got another 5 beds here that I'm going to plant. I'll probably do those ones this week and some of the other plots. Alright, so I'm back with a bunch of my supplies. I'm going to try a new drip tape this season because I can't find the stuff that I was using before, which is had emitters every 6 inches. And this stuff has emitters every 8 inches, so I figure that if I stagger them and have 4 in a 30-inch bed, it should be enough. So I got lots of my soil for planting microgreens, and I bought a bunch more of my organic fertilizer for my field crops. Alright, we are Tuesday today, and there is a lot happening this week. We're really starting to pick up production. Our greens from the field are really starting to produce more. The greenhouses are just maxing out, so all of a sudden we've got double the amount of greens that even we had last week, so that's really exciting. Things are just growing really quickly, even though this week has cooled down a little bit. Like, it's only 15 degrees Celsius right now. You can see my front yard. I took these tunnels off after the first week because they were growing too fast, and so I wanted to slow them down a bit so I don't have too much stuff at once. So this is coming along well. My double bed that I planted is doing very well. I'll be getting the first harvest of mustard and tatsoi from this. Possibly, maybe I'll wait till next week. I was gonna say this week, but I know I already got another one that I want to finish off in the greenhouse, so I might hold off on that one for another week. We packed an order for our distributor, one of our distributor customers today, and I will be spending a good chunk of the day getting some irrigation happening on this plot. Got some spinach happening there in the back, and so I'll be uncovering some of this lettuce today and looking under the tarp to see what we've got. In fact, I'll show you right now. So these beds have been covered probably for 3 weeks, and oh, this is lovely. You can see little weeds. Little germinating weeds everywhere. So I'm gonna flame weed those puppies today, because I do want to plant 2 of these beds today. I'm gonna direct seed with some different greens, and the rest of it I'll keep it covered, because I'm just gonna kind of keep it on stream. I'm not gonna plant it all too much right away, and that's kind of what we're at right now. Is Mark is at another one of our plots. He's getting the irrigation finished for that, and we're just streaming now. Every week we're planting something. Now I'm gonna start getting into planting groups of things. So starting next week, I'll be doing groups of carrots, like 4 50-foot beds of carrots at a time. That'll stream out every 3 weeks to 4 weeks. We just direct seeded a bunch of beets, as well as had the beet transplant. So we've got 2 successions of beets in the ground now. All of our kale's planted. We've got our patty pan squash is coming on in the nursery, and it's going to go out relatively soon. We're planting like 20 flats of microgreens a week now, so we've got a lot of that. So we've got these guys. They'll be in here for another couple weeks, and then they'll be going into the ground, and those are going to get planted in odds and ends areas. And so the patty pan squash and zucchinis and things like this, they're not a major crop for us, but I like to grow it to have diversity in our crop. It's almost like a loss leader. You know, it's like we don't make a ton of money at it, but we make enough to justify the work. So there is a profit there. Obviously not as huge as, say, salad greens. But the thing is, the way we do patty pans, we can do them in a bi-rotation way. So there'll be a crop in the ground. If those patty pans go into bed, there'll be a crop before, and that so say it'll be a spinach, arugula, or radish, something like that. It'll come out of the ground. Those patty pans will go in. They'll be there until October, and we can even do I've got a new thing called tri-rotation, which is essentially what a bi-rotation is if you've read my book. And we can get a 3rd crop after the patty pans. So we can get them out of the ground by early October, and then I can do an overwintered crop of something like spinach by the 1st week of October, cover it up, and then that'll be a crop that's early harvested into March the next year. Alright, so I'm out back here at this new plot, and I was originally going to plant some greens here. I was going to go mustard and tatsoi and spinach, but I've improperly changed my plan, and I want to just kind of give you guys a bit of insight on how I manage my farm as far as crop rotations and how I plan it, because I don't plan it the way most farmers do. I've decided to change my plan here. I'm going to put those crops that I was going to plant here somewhere else. The reason is, after flame weeding and forking out some of the perennial deep-rooted weeds in here, I still see a lot of, when I was kind of digging around in the soil, I still see a lot of little runners of germinating weeds, which tells me that I probably could leave the tarps on here another 2 or 3 weeks, but I don't have that time. I need to get into production. And my plan for in about a month is to put Salin over here, just like this. But I'd like to get another crop out of here, and so I'm thinking now, if I plant radishes in here, they'll be in and out of the ground in 30 days, and then that will allow me to work out some of the weeds that are in there. So there's all these little germinating weeds a little bit deeper down, because this had just been lawn this year, and I turned it over quicker than normal. So by doing radishes, if I have some weeds coming in there, it's not going to affect my radish crop that much. Even if it's a bit of grass here and there, it wouldn't affect it as much as if I did greens. If I did some nice baby greens here and I'm cutting them with my quick greens harvester, then I'm going to have weeds in my greens, and that's a problem. But if I just do this with radishes, I'm going to put turnips in this bed too. In 30 days, all these crops will be out of there, and then I have another opportunity to break those, cut those weeds down and do no-till again, and kind of, you know, stir up hoe the beds, get those weeds out. So I'll work the weeds out over time at the same time as getting a crop. So that's my thinking with this. Also, what I'm doing here after I plant these beds, I'm going to add 3 more lines of drip on here that will all tie in to what's already here. These beds here have drip underneath the landscape fabric, so I'll just be carrying on doing what was already done here. Decided to direct seed this bed today because now it's completely out of shade, so I'm going to do a half bed of mustard and tatsoi here. I'm heading over to my nearest plot, the high rotation kind of flagship plot, and I'm just going to get a bunch of stuff done at once. That's why I'm bringing the truck with me. So I'm going to harvest 7 cases of radishes. I'm going to water those down, put them in the shade. Then I'm going to turn over the 2 beds that I'm going to harvest from. The reason I'm replanting some of those beds right away and not just planting on other plots that we have ready to go is that this way I don't have to just turn on a part of an irrigation at another plot. This whole system is already running for everything, so it's easier for me just to replace a couple beds here than to go and turn on 2 beds out of 12 at another plot and then have to run that whole system, which is, in the case that I'm talking about, is another plot that has overhead. In fact, there's 2 other plots that have overhead. So this way I'm just looking at my calendar going, you know what, okay, I'm just gonna, instead of planting these next 2 or these 2 at that plot, I'll put them here, which means I'll just turn these beds over. So I'm harvesting these beds of radishes a little premature just so I can turn them over quicker instead of having to sit on them empty for another week. I'm all done here. Harvested, cropped out both these beds of French breakfast radishes and then harvested a little bit of this Easter egg bed because I needed some of those. So that was the second picking. The first harvest I went and thinned. Second harvest went and finished them off. Wasn't much on the last bit. Got 80% of the crop the first harvest and then about 20% the next. And then I turned them over, planted spinach in this one, red Russian kale in this one, amended with a bit of my fertilizer that you guys have seen before. Used the tilther, ran a rake through, easy. Planted again. All said and done, harvested 6 cases of radishes. So those are 12 bunches a piece, so those are around $25 each. That's $150 of product. Turned over these beds, did that in an hour of work. So that's what a typical hour looks like for us on our farm. So before I take off from this plot, I'm going to fix some of the irrigation at it actually. Just wanted to show you guys the beauties that we pulled off that plot. Got everything packed up. Now I'm just going to tweak around with the irrigation a bit. I noticed that I've got a little bit of uneven watering here for some reason. I don't know, I'll have to fire it up and see how it is, but something that we do every now and then, have to do, especially at the beginning. Notice that I covered up part of that bed, and I did that just because I have a extra landscape fabric piece kicking around. I just figured that was cropped, just covered up so it doesn't get any more weedy than it already is, and it'll continue to suppress any weeds in there. Wednesday morning today. Hey Chris! And I'm at one of my high rotation plots back here. I was here last night or at the end of the day. Got to top up a little bit of harvest for some radishes. Was a little short than what I needed. Also, got a request for some more, so I'm just buzzed over here to get some more. Going to crop out this red Russian, that arugula as well, and I'm going to fix an irrigation line that I noticed was busted last night. Okay, so I came in and I cut these greens. I cut this bed of arugula today because I was looking at it and it was growing pretty fast, and I knew that if I didn't cut it today, if I waited till tomorrow or Friday, it might be a little bit too long to cut. It would be a less ideal product. So by cutting it today, I'm getting it when the product is perfect. That's the main point here. But I'm also giving myself the option, because the weather looks like it's cooling down a bit, that if I cut it today, then I can give it 9 days to recover, because it could be ready by Friday next week. That might, just in case it takes longer to recover. So this way I've got options. If it's ready by next Wednesday, great, I'll cut it again. If it's not quite ready by Wednesday and it's Thursday or Friday, then I can cut it then. So I've got options here. That's why I chose to cut this today. And this is the kind of thinking that I'm always doing on my farm. I'm always thinking, okay, what's optimal now? When can I get this product to market so it's perfect? And how much time is it going to take to recover? I just came back from harvesting those greens. I just wanted to show you guys something that we do on the farm that makes things simple as far as keeping track of what we have and what's been harvested, because as many of you know, I track everything that comes off the field. It goes into a yield spreadsheet. And for those of you that don't know, you can download those off my website, theurbanfarmer.co/book, and then go to free extras and you can download that stuff. Okay, anyways, I have a scale by my cooler, so every time I come back here, first thing, and that scale is set to subtract the weight of a tote. So I put the tote on, look at the weight. Okay, I've got 6 pounds there. I've got my masking tape and my marker. Label that, put it in the cooler. It's labeled, and then I later put that into my spreadsheets. I actually put it into my phone, and then it'll just go into the spreadsheets later as well. That way we know what's in the cooler, we know what we have for stock. If a chef calls me and says, hey, do you have this and this and this? I say, oh yeah, I've got some of this in the cooler right now, you know. So this is part of the way that we're selling every single day on our farm. We do Monday sale to a distributor, we do a Tuesday sale to a grocery store, Wednesday sale to another distributor. I've got chefs picking up on Thursdays, we deliver on Fridays, and then we're selling at the market on Saturdays. So in order to do that, you need to have a certain level of organization to know always what's in your fields and what's coming off your fields and what's available, and this is part of that strategy. All right, well, Wednesday has come and gone, and this plot, my neighbor's plot, is now fully planted out. We're just going to finish the drip irrigation on those 4 beds there. I planted 4 beds of arugula. Yesterday I put 2 beds of radish in a 35-foot bed there of turnips. And the idea with this plot is that it is going to be all lettuce shortly. But I decided to plant some stuff here. In the meantime, I've got some Salanova lettuce plugs, just like these. Started in the greenhouse. They won't be ready for another 25 days, so I can push that to 30 and have these crops out of the ground in that time, and then that lettuce will go in here in its place. Almost the same thing with the arugula, direct seeded there. I might get 2 cuts, maybe 3 cuts out of it, and then some other lettuce that I have yet to start will go there. All right, it's Thursday morning, and I'm just going to get on my bike and head over to one of our urban plots and meet Mark there. He's already started on harvesting lettuce, and we're gonna harvest some radishes there. And we've already done a good chunk of harvesting actually for this week. We've got a bunch of stuff in the cooler right now, a bunch of different greens, and all we really need to harvest now is our lettuce and our radishes, and then we're gonna save all the microgreens for tomorrow. So that's kind of how our day's looking so far. We're harvesting this Salanova here and not one of the beds in the other greenhouse, just because these were bigger and I knew I had a big order coming up early this coming week, so I figured I'd get that stuff first and then let that other stuff get bigger, so I've got more yield for when I need it. And I'm going to harvest some more radishes from here. Okay, well that wraps up harvesting what we needed to from this plot. We got about 60 pounds of lettuce. I'm assuming it hasn't been weighed yet, but that's what it felt like, 50 to 60 pounds. And I did a good thin harvesting of more radishes. There's a chance I might have to come back to get more radishes because some of my chefs are late in ordering, which is kind of typical a little bit. So you kind of roll with the punches. Part of and I expect that to some degree, and this is why my high rotation plots are in the places that they are. They're close to the network. The plot I'm at here is 2 blocks from my home, from our home base. So if I need to come back here to get a few more cases of radishes, it's not really that big of a deal. It's a 2-minute bike ride here. So it's more or less just stepping out into the field if I was living on the farm. So not a big deal. These are things that we come to expect, and we adjust our expectations and plan our production around these kind of things. Mark and I are here washing greens, drying greens, and I'm about to start mixing salad mix. So I have 3 components to my salad mix this week. I've got 4 containers of green Salanova lettuce. I've got 1 container which is about 6 pounds of what I call auxiliary greens, which this week are a mix of tatsoi and mustard greens. And then I've got some different colors of Salanova mix. For all intents and purposes would be auxiliary green. So what I'm going to do on the screen is I'm going to mix them. I'm going to throw 1 tote of green lettuce on there, and then a handful of this and a handful of that, mix that together, pack that in another tote, and then do the same for each tote. The nice thing about running 2 coolers is that we only need to run one of them 7 days a week, 24/7. We use the CoolBot one, which is more energy efficient. That one is running all the time, so throughout the week, as we harvest stuff, it just goes in there. And then for Thursday, our main harvest day, and we're gonna run this one, and we'll kind of have product that was from the field there, and then finished product in here, so it's easy for organization. And then as we pack product, it'll stay in here, and then on Saturday morning when I load up for the farmer's market, this one gets emptied and then I turn it off right away. So, but once we're in the main season, like once we're in summer, July, August, then both of them are probably running most of the time. But for most of the season, only one needs to be running at once. Today is Friday and the day is done, but I'll give you a bit of a conclusion of how the day went. We did our restaurant deliveries, so we did 2 different runs. Myself, I got in the van and I did the deliveries to the wineries and some of the further away restaurants, and Mark took the bike and trailer to do all the downtown deliveries, and we always do the downtown deliveries with the bikes and trailers. It's just easier to navigate the downtown. It's actually faster. Like it's cool to do it and do it for all the same reasons that I did when I started, but it actually is just more economical. When we have a lot of stuff, we get the double trailer going. This trailer here actually has a special hitch that can link on the back of that trailer, so when we get into summer, we have a lot more product to go downtown. We can still do it with the bike. So right now we did all the market packing, and so like I was pointing out earlier, this cooler is loaded up with all the stuff I'm taking to farmer's market tomorrow, and then in the morning when I load up my van, that will be emptied and I'll turn it off, and then the only cooler that will be running is the silver cooler. But I've got my truck is all packed up with the market gear, so I've got my canopies, my boxes, my tables are back there. And so when I get up in the morning, all I got to do is just load those totes of produce in my van and I'm off to go. I can pretty much wake up 10 minutes before I need to be at the market. It's pretty cool. Most other farmers that are driving in from 2 hours out of town are up at 3:30 a.m. to get there on time, where I just kind of roll out of bed and make some coffee and a smoothie and I'm at the market. So that was pretty much this week. In conclusion to the week, we got a lot done this week. We pretty much finished, well, not just pretty much, we finished the entire plot, the neighbor's plot next door. As I showed you a little bit throughout the week, we had it all planted out, so the whole plot's planted out now. We've got irrigation, it's all on drip now. We had to tweak a little bit because we're trying a new drip tape here, and it's called an Aquatrax. It's 8-inch emitters, and it seems to be working all right, and we've had to adjust it a little bit here and there to just kind of tweak around with it, but it's looking good. We got a bit of rain today, which was nice, and now we're pretty much on stream. So now I'm planting every single week, and I will continue to plant things like radish, arugula, and some greens, including Salanova lettuce that I start in the greenhouse every single week until early September or late August. And then we'll stagger, the plantings will slow down a bit. But from here on, we're really getting into steady production. It cooled down quite a bit this week, actually, compared to the last couple weeks. But that's okay. Things are still growing fast. We're not, there's no frost or anything like that, especially down here in the downtown. So that is Friday. We finished early. Well, we didn't really finish early. We finished the market stuff and the restaurant stuff early, and then we spent the rest of the day fixing things, tidying things up, washing totes, cleaning microgreen flats. Still working on the work area here, and this week I'm kind of ashamed to show you guys all this mess, but this is farming, right? This is the real deal. On early next week, we're going to take a lot of stuff out of here and get rid of a lot of crap. Please subscribe, like, and share the videos with your friends, and if you want to see more in-depth content like this, check out my book at theurbanfarmer.co or check out my online course at profitableurbanfarming.com. Alright, see you next week.